I want to call the order of the Parks Board meeting on Monday, January the 27th. We're going to have the pledge. Let me ask you a question. How many of you youngers know the Pledge of Allegiance? I want all of y'all come up here and do it, will you? Come on up here. Come on up here.
All of you come up here.
Everybody come up here.
Come up here. Let me push my seat.
Let her come up here too.
I didn't mean to, man. Get back here in the corner. Oh, come on, boy. Everybody come up. Get quiet. Come on over. He go.
Don't go too far. You
right there. You're fine. You're good. You're good right there.
Right here. Everybody turn around and look at the flag. All right, here we go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good job, guys. Good job. Good job, guys. High fives, guys. High fives, man. Good job.
Wasn't that fun?
Can't give a high five on the right hand. That's foreign.
Hey guys, you know that they're filming this here, so you guys, we've got 4 people that watch this during the week, so you'll liable to be on TV.
Mama's a taper.
All right, under presentations, I'm sorry. Oh, we got to say hi to Jonathan here. Ready back there? Oh, good. Okay. Do we have an Officer Stroby here? Could you come up to the front here, sir? First and foremost, thank you for your service, sir.
Turn yours off. Turn yours off.
Just talk loud. He's not hearing anything.
Can you hear it? How about now? Can you hear it? Is that better?
What's he talking about?
I don't know. I don't know what he's saying.
Here, let me turn it over to the mic.
What's he saying? Can you tell what he's saying?
Mr. Chairman, can you turn it on? Maybe you have to turn it on. I think you have to turn it on.
Where's Keith?
Time out.
Turn it on. Fine.
I turned on something. Didn't do nothing. It didn't do anything.
Either Keith or Dallas is going to have to do something for us.
I think you gotta go through your control.
The man. They don't trust me with a password. Are we good?
Now you got to punch him. I don't know what you do. What do you usually do here? Usually the mic usually does it. But still blinking. Turn his off. Let's see if it.
Well, I'm on down here, so.
I think we're good. Hey, we're good.
How about now? We good? All right. Good job, Dallas. Keith, good job. That's why they get the big bucks. My name is Andy Gilley, Parks Director for the City of Hendersonville. Now that we're back on track here, we had a couple incidences in the parks in the rec league basketball games, and we needed some help from our men and women in blue. And Officer Stroby here kind of really helped us investigate and correct the situation. And I wanted to make sure that we honored him tonight, a little recognition, because after talking with his supervisors, he went above and beyond the call of duty to help us. So we got a certificate of recognition. It says presented to Officer Kyle Strobe. Kyle Strobe was instrumental in the eventual identification of a suspect in an incident that involved a spectator and a basketball official. He worked with city staff, the Hendersonville Police Department, the Hendersonville Officials Association, and the community, going above and beyond to make sure this suspect was identified and charged properly. Officer Strobe is another example of our outstanding men and women in the Hendersonville Police Department that serve and protect our city each and every day. Signed the 27th day of January 2020 by myself. Officer Strobe, I want to thank you publicly, and we want to do that here where the general public could see it on TV, to thank you for all you did for us and what you do each and every day. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a special evening tonight to recognize the first inductees of the Jameson Wharton Award. For those of you who do not know what the Jameson Wharton Award is, about a year ago we started Honor the Game program, which focuses on sportsmanship in our park. And we take nominations through all of our leagues that participate throughout our park system. And we as a committee have selected two individuals or two groups as the Jameson Wharton Award. Jameson, if you don't know who Jameson is he is a youth in our community who started a program when he was 10 years old called Football for the Cure. Jameson, I think you're here. If you want to come on up here. So Jameson, how old are you now? 15, 16? 16. So he about 6 years ago he started Football for the Cure, which is a annual flag football tournament here in our park that helps raise money for cancer research. So when we were coming up with this idea of Honor the Game and how we can recognize individuals who go above and beyond on the field, we wanted to pick someone that our youth could look up to, and Jameson is the ideal person in our community that has done that. With that said, I'm going to call Tom Golden up here. Tom is a parent, he's a coach, he's been involved in our parks for many years, and he had the vision and the idea that kind of brought this all to us, and he's worked very hard in the last year to come up with this program. So I'm going to hand this over to Tom, and he's going to give a little talk on the Honor the Game program and present this award to those that have earned it.
Thank you. Thank you, Dallas, and thank you, board members, and thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. The Honor the Game program, which is coming up on its one-year anniversary in about a month or so, really strives to do kind of two things. One is it promotes four main pillars of sportsmanship. Respect for officials, respect for each other and as athletes, respect for your coaches, playing with heart and with hustle and energy and a love for that game. Learning through failure and success is a major pillar of what this program is about. And play. The sports should be fun, and that's what the core of sports really needs to be. And this has been a tremendous journey. The amount of support this program has received from the community as a whole, but from many different leagues, has been tremendous. And I just want to acknowledge those leagues by name. Civitan Club of Hendersonville, several different leagues that they run throughout the year have been tremendously supportive. Hendersonville Soccer Club, Tennessee United, Hendersonville Inline Hockey Association, and Hendersonville Lacrosse have all just dove right in, and we're just so very thankful for that. The second thing that Honor the Game tries to do is to shine a light on athletes, coaches, officials, and administrators who are living those principles and living those pillars and bringing that in our community. There are thousands of them doing it every single weekend, every single time that a team goes out, and we're just trying to shine a light on it to recognize it as a way to encourage it to take root in our communities. And so tonight I have a really distinct pleasure of awarding the Jameson Wharton Scholarship award to several individuals. This comes from a year-round nomination, and so if you're here tonight, I encourage you, go out to our Facebook page and continue to nominate players, officials, coaches that you see. We received 80-plus nominations, and we try to profile them on our Facebook page as well. This first individual, and I'm going to say a few words, and I'm going to ask them to come forward, receive a certificate from Jameson, and then have someone come up and speak on their behalf, just really briefly, because I know it's a busy meeting. This individual is actually a part of the founding story, the inspiration really of Honor the Game. About 2 years ago, I was a coach for my son's youth baseball team, and happened to watch a pitcher on the mound, as at that age was pretty typical, of struggling. And because of the way the rules were written, he actually had hit a couple of batters and had to come out the game. And so while the new pitcher was warming up, and the awardee knows this. He knows the story. I watched this official go over and sit down for, it was a good 5 minutes. The pitcher was done warming up at this point. To talk on that level with this young man about what the nature of sometimes the resilience and what it looks like and how struggle, and sometimes that happens. And I was so struck by it that I went home and I was like, well, we've got it. That's amazing. We need to be able to show that to more and more people. When it came back years later, and that's how we ended up coming up with this kind of program, is to award people like that. I'm also going to read this. We received multiple nominations throughout the year. This was one of the few individuals that received multiple nominations. So multiple people recognizing this individual. And this one reads, and I'll end with this. He encourages every batter, makes a point of letting players know when they made a great play in the field, and gives advice for how to do even better. He makes sure that he calls the game fairly. Even when the call is against your team, you can tell that he's out on the field because he loves the game and wants to help others love it too. He's a big part of this inspiration for this program, and we're so honored to be able to recognize him tonight. So it's my distinct pleasure to award Jameson Wharton Scholarship Award to Denny Bartz. I'd like to invite Sid Albert with the Hendersonville Officials Association to come on up, say a few words.
My name is Sid Albert, and I'm the assigning officer for multiple sports for the Hendersonville Officials Association, baseball being one of those. When Tom asked me to say a few words about Denny, my first thoughts were, gosh, where do I even start? So I figured I'd just kind of go back to the beginning, give you a little bit of background. Denny contacted me a few years ago and said that he wanted to umpire with us. And I'm always looking for new umpires, especially adults. So I said, well, sure, come on. Let's go have a little bit of fun. So we gave him a little bit of basic training on how to work the bases. And just like all of the new umpires, we put him to work in the Coach Pitch League, which is our 6-year-olds and under, and our 8-year-olds and under. He did it a little bit, few games, contacted him again. He said, hey, I kind of like this. So we decided, well, why not? We need to get some adults involved in our 10U age group. So let's give him a shot and try some of the 10U stuff. So I got one of our veteran umpires assigned with him. And he's actually in this room. And Nathan, I'm not going to point anybody out, but I just did. But I asked Nathan to work with him and just kind of give him some on-the-job training, and talk to him the next day and try to get some feedback from him. So I called him, and so I said, well, what do you got? And he said, let me just leave it this way. We made Denny a special project for the year. One of my pet peeves that I had to teach him was how to wear his cap when he's behind the plate, wear it going forward and not backwards. I had to teach him how to use his left hand to call the balls and his right hand to call the strikes. So 2-1 count is 2 balls, 1 strike, not 2 balls, 1 strike. The biggest thing we had to teach him was how to leave his mask on his face until after the pitch got to the plate. He worked on that for a little while, started showing some really nice progress. I quit worrying about head fractures, so we decided he's probably good to go. Well, what we didn't know at that time was how big Denny's heart was. We began to notice when he'd get out on the field, he just looked like he loved being out there, loved the game, loved being around with the kids. As Tom mentioned a little earlier, when kids would fail, and as you know in baseball there's a lot of failure there, he would go and console them. When there would be some success, he was the first one out there giving them high fives. Shortly after that, I started getting inquiries from parents, say, who was that guy that was doing our game? Man, he was really great with our kids. I even got one reply that says, can you make sure that Denny does our next game? Well, folks, I got to tell you, I've been around sports either as a player, a spectator, a coach, and an umpire for 60 years. And I've heard a lot of very successful coaches say that heart cannot be taught. You either have it or you don't. Well, I'm here to tell you that Denny Bartz has a lot of heart. And I'm very proud to call you one of ours. Denny certainly deserved this recognition. On behalf of the Hendersonville Officials Association, I want to say congratulations for this well-deserved recognition. And I'm looking forward to another season with you, my friend. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you. I did my first game with Baker.
Our next recipients of the Jameson Wharton Scholarship Award is the 7- and 8-year-old Titans football team. Thanks, guys. Come on up. This is a team that lived by the pillars of honor of the game right down to it. They showed respect to their coaches, my learning. They played with heart. I believe you went undefeated. Is that right? Yeah. Congratulations on that. You respected your coaches, and you were learning and growing, and you were playing the game because it's fun. And a lot of times with sportsmanship, it's all the little things. It's all the little choices and little things that you make, but sometimes a moment comes around that is truly remarkable and reminds all of us why youth sports is so amazing. On September 21st, the Titans were playing the Percy Priest Ducks. Even before that game, as the story is told to me, the team needed some equipment, and so this team was generous enough to be able to provide that for them, which is itself a wonderful measure of sportsmanship. But during that game, the opposing coach for the other team indicated that there was a player, an athlete with special needs who didn't usually get to play and had not scored a touchdown, and could we do something if the game went the way that maybe it would go. And sure enough, at the opening part of after halftime, coaches went to this team and said, "Hey, we've got a young man who would like to score. Would you help him?" And of course, if you're real competitive, kids are like, well, "What are you talking about?" But as soon as they found out that he loves football and doesn't get the score, they're like all in it, right? And I hope you have a free moment, you watch the video because it's on our Facebook page. It's amazing. And if you're ever having a bad day, you just need to watch this video. And what I love about this is that they ran with this young man. And as a father of a son with autism, that was special. And they showed that moment, sports didn't matter, the game didn't matter, that kindness and inclusion really what matters. So we are so proud of you, gentlemen, and are proud to award you the Jameson Wharton Sportsmanship Award to the 7-year-old Titans. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call your names. Come on up and receive your certificate from Jameson here. Stephen Baltz, if you're here. Okay, great. Jackson Benfield. Tyson Campbell. Braden Cornwell. That's fine, no problem. That's fine. Thomas Cox. No problem. Amirian Granger. Stetson Hanks. No problem. Christian Holly. No problem, it's fine. Brandon Jones. Good job, Brandon.
I believe he could play.
Clayton Mayberry. Good job, Clayton. Michael McCarthy. Camden Mercer. Love the jacket, Camden. There you go. William Murphy.
Looking good.
Miles Sakis. Camden Sell. Trenton Smallwood. No problem. Yeah. Luke Stevens. And the coaches, Frank Mayberry. Matthew Baltz. I'm going to go, they're out, but I'm going to go ahead and say their names. Judd Hanks and Adonta Granger. So ladies and gentlemen, the 7 and 8-year-old Titans. I'm going to ask head coach Frank Mayberry to come on up and say a few words.
Thank y'all. So I saw Sid had a written speech, and I was a little worried because I don't have anything prepared. But I want to take a minute just to thank you guys for recognizing these boys. They had a tremendous season, and you know what you saw there in that video was just a piece of what they do every day. We start in mid-July, and it's a grind, and we finished, I think, the weekend before Thanksgiving. But you know, every day, every game, every practice, picking somebody else up off the field, shaking hands, really just living the right way on the field and displaying, you know, just fantastic sportsmanship. So our goal is not necessarily winning games, however, we won a whole lot this season. Our goal is to help these parents build these young men into great young men. And you know, obviously, you can see here that's what we've done. These are outstanding young men, and I love every one of them. That's all I got. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, so now I'm going to invite the team up here. I'm going to invite Denny back up here. Jameson, Tom, to everyone come up here for a field opportunity with our staff and board real quick, and then we'll move on with our meeting from there.
And hey, boys, we're going to go out there as soon as we get done, okay?
I can't believe all you people are trying to take a picture of me. I've got some 8x10 glossies out in the. I don't think they're taking my picture. Yeah, they're taking your picture. It's going to be worth some money one day. You can. You want to. Come on over here.
Come on, get this picture.
They're going to get a picture of me and my I can still run, old Bubba. A little.
Falling is a big thing.
Squeeze in, guys. Squeeze in.
Can we get a copy?
Smaller kids up front. Clay, get up front. Amir, get up front. Everybody else try to get up front, Sally.
I don't write.
I ain't getting in front of you.
Man.
They want your picture.
It's a little frightening for you to say that.
Is that better? Get in the middle. Squeeze in a little bit more. Bubba, don't you rabbit ear through it. Scratch down a little bit. How much
I
effort?
think they were talking about the kids squeaking in, not us.
Is the lighting okay? You got a good lighting on?
Smile, guys. Ready? Smile.
They are small.
Hey, I want to. I want to say something before you go.
Oh, hang on a second.
This is going to probably mean far more to your parents and to me than it's going to mean to you. But this is what makes me proud to be on the Parks Board.
Indeed.
Just what y'all did this year, just for somebody who has never scored, it's rare these days. Cherish it your entire life, okay? It makes me proud. Just want to let y'all know. Thank you.
Good job, guys.
Appreciate you. All of you.
Holy smokes. Is it something I said or what?
I don't think so.
Hey, I want to see his birth certificate. I want to see his birth certificate. And he's about 18 right now. I know. Be very proud. Yeah.
Ms. Wise, while we're waiting, I've got a question. Who prints up these agendas?
Kristen.
If you make the writing any smaller, I'm gonna have to get Pike to read it to me.
She had to reduce it to fit all on one page.
It don't matter, I'm an old guy, I'm telling you. Can you read that first part? Which one? Now, let's go on. That's it. Do we have any citizens' comments, sir?
No, we did not, Chairman.
Thank you, sir. I'll accept. What should we do? Let's get the old business out of the way first. Just do the approval of the minutes first. Got to do that. Mr. Zedegren said first, and Mr. Pike said second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Okay. I'm gonna delay the Connect Committee a bit. Under old business, Mr. Gilly, can you give us those reports right quick?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, I'll be brief. We have two proposals in our office being reviewed by the city attorney for relocation of the hockey rinks. These are site plans and to get us to a place where we can bid out the projects. We have for the hockey rinks to move to Volunteer Park, and also a proposal for a new site plan on the other side of the park for athletic fields. At Mary's Magical Place, we're waiting on approval from FEMA before we can move forward with the building of a berm around the playground to protect it. Could be 4 to 6 months before we get that. They move kind of slow. LED soccer lights will be on fields 1 through 4 at Drake's Creek. They'll be delivered February 10th and installed that week. The tennis restroom project at Memorial Park, the men's room is almost complete. Should be done by 1/31, and the changing room areas are almost complete. So that's a huge improvement over there, along with the parking lot lights that we've done. And then finally, you'll see over the next month or so, we're going to be doing some improvements to the landscaping around all the signs at the entrances to all the parks. Right now, we don't really have any, and that's of no fault of our own. To be honest, our guys really don't have time to take care of it, make it look right. So we're going to get some help from a local company here that does First Baptist Church and Vol State Bank and some other places to help us out with that. I think it'll improve the entrances as we move along there. If anybody has any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Gilly. CPR update, Mr. Long and Mr. Evans.
Thank you. Last meeting, Darren asked for us to come back with an update on CPR and how we're going to be managing that in our office and with all of our leagues. I'm going to kind of hand this over to Wade, but Wade is going to be our CPR guy in our office who's going to be managing the database of all of our coaches. He'll be working with Tammy Neal and as well, who does a lot of the CPR training for most of our leagues. But I'll hand this over to Wade and so he can explain how this will be managed.
Yes, so what we found out, what's been going on is that a lot of our coaches or past coaches have been CPR trained, not certified. There is a difference. But what we found out is that is technically okay. as far as legally. They can be trained, but they just can't, because they can still, if something happens, they can still act on it. If something were to happen in the park or at a game or practice. But we've also let them know that they are CPR trained, not certified. So there's a little bit of a difference. We will be certifying some of our staff, looking at potentially our supervisors in the future. But for now, that is the resolve. The coaches I'll be in contact with Tammy Neal. I know she does a lot of the groups. A lot of the groups reach out to her. But if we find out, once we have a list of the coaches, if they don't have any type of either training on file or they don't have anything from their other previous employment showing that they're certified, they can actually come and I can actually teach classes. So I might have to do that as well. So that is an option.
Thank you very much. Any questions?
I'm going to add another thing that we notified all the leagues of is that they do not have to go through Tammy Neal. She is one option. The fire department does community CPR training as well, or your American Red Cross or something like that as well. So the leagues don't have to go through Tammy Neal, but she is one option, and I know Civitan uses her, and I know some of the other leagues have reached out to her as well about using her. So
Thank you very much. For the board's information, we're going to skip down to financial reports. Mid-state softball, senior softball, the senior of us here, Mr. Roy.
How's everybody? Good to see you.
Good to be seen.
The majority of our revenue comes in our league, obviously up in April, beginning of the season. However, the expenses run throughout the season. However, we did have we had a fall division of 60 age plus ball players. We had 3 teams that went for, I think, 6 weeks. So the revenue shown on here for the rec revenues of $2,782.50 was from that fall league. The expenses, as you can see, totaled about $10,200 and roughly $41, so that there was a net loss for that second half of the year of about $7,500. However, for the total year, we had a profit, which is not shown on your report. This is only for half a season. So that pretty much sums it up. Like I said, everything pretty much comes in the beginning of the year, and expenses keep going throughout the year. Any questions?
Questions as to Mr. Depew? As always, you've done a wonderful job, sir.
Thank you. Been doing it a long time, so somebody could take it over maybe.
You have that.
Yeah.
I'm even thinking about playing again myself.
You ought to.
All right.
I think you're old enough.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Your car's in the parking lot.
No, we just moved it. Thank you.
Thank you, Roy. Hendersonville inline hockey.
Good evening. We had a good fall season last year. If I remember right, about 145 kids signed up, something like that. So it was a little bit below average. Part of that due to just being down to one rink. So our total revenue for the last fall ran just over 11,182. We had just over 7,000 in expenses, 7,500. So we netted out at 3,660. So fairly decent season. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Questions?
All good?
You did good.
Thank you much.
Thank you, my friend. Lacrosse, Hendersonville. What? Oh, okay. You want to go on and knock that out?
Oh, wait a minute, Greg. Wait a minute, Greg.
Is it okay if we get Ms. Hassel in here first?
Oh, yeah, not at all.
Got some new business.
Yep,
You don't want to do the financial thing. Thanks, bud. Appreciate it.
You're one of the 3 beautiful women here tonight.
Thank you. Well, my name is Angela House, and I'm just looking to have a softball tournament here October 10th.
Had to get that in.
And I expect to have like between 16 to 20 teams. This will be a second annual Cashville Explosion. We had our previous tournament 2 years ago at Cedar Hill. It was successful, real family environment, things of that nature. So we're just looking to bring it here. I live here in Hendersonville, so I just thought I would give this a shot. Have any questions?
Questions?
I got one.
Yes, sir.
Who was did you use a nonprofit last year?
Yes, 10% of the proceeds will go to Sister Strut. That is a breast cancer awareness benefit that we do. We always just give them 10%
Awesome.
of
Thank you.
the income.
That's all. Thank you.
Question?
Yes, ma'am. What are you exactly talking about when you come to the concessions?
The concessions, I know at Cedar Hill, we ran our own concession, but they didn't let us actually go and use the facility. We set up tables and tents, and we did our own concession stand. We would like to do that again if possible.
Well, let Andy, do you want to address that? Well,
That probably would not work here.
Okay.
We probably need to leave that with the local groups that do the concessions for something like this. With you all charging a gate and other things, we need somebody locally here needs to benefit.
Okay.
That would be the way that our Civitan Club would benefit from you all being in the park.
We understand. That would be great. Could we sell anything, water, Gatorade, or will we not be able to bring anything into the park?
With you'd have to work that out with the Civitan Club. We don't, typically people do not sell the same products that we offer in the concession stands.
Okay.
So
I understand that.
we would get you their contact information. They got a real good guy that runs their concession stands. And we'll see what y'all might can work out. Sometimes they let people work in the thing and give them maybe a percentage to go to charity, but we'll let you work that out.
All right,
That
I'll
answer
speak
the
with
question?
them.
And does that fit into your
It does.
situation?
It fits into the situation. It's really not basically for like a large profit. It's just for the camaraderie, everyone coming together. It's just a ritual that we do.
Okay. Any other question? Entertain a motion to approve?
More question.
One more question.
What are you doing for officials?
Oh, for officials, we'll have NSA. You know Connie Jeanette, she usually runs her NSA tournaments here, so we'll have NSA umpires, like we did at Cedar Hill. And my father, he's actually the head umpire, William Hassel, but he's not from here, he's from Nashville. So.
And insurance.
Insurance, we do have the insurance through the BSC organization. So if you've ever heard of that, the insurance will be coming from there.
It'll need to name City of Hendersonville as additionally insured on the.
Okay, we can add that.
And you're just going to try to do it one day, just Saturday?
One day in and out. It's just, yeah. I mean, it should be over, 8 a.m., probably over like at 8 p.m.
Okay, just a straight double elimination?
Double elimination.
Okay.
Nothing huge at all.
Questions?
I can tell you if her father's running the officials, I can verify
He's a head
that
on,
they're good. I used to officiate with him myself. So.
You remember my dad, William?
Yes, ma'am.
He's
Yes,
the head umpire. He'll be there the whole time.
Yes.
I just come and do this part.
Yes, ma'am. I think the world of your dad.
You remember
is,
Mr.
for sure. Yes,
Hassel?
ma'am.
Okay.
Any more questions? Well, before I entertain a motion, Andy, does that fit all in the criterion of what we're looking for and what she's doing?
I think the date works. They got insurance. We know who the officials are. They appear to be giving money back to a local charity.
Yeah.
So
It fits, okay.
that's basically what we require of everybody else. They're going to use our concession stand. So.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion, we approve that pending that she gets the proper insurance to suffice with what the city needs, and that she gets with Civitan to work out a deal to get a percentage back in the concession stand.
Have a motion, I got a second from Mr. Pike. Any more discussion on the matter? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to skip around here, and I'm sorry for calling you up and then putting you back down. I'm sorry.
No problem at all.
Just state your name when you're up there, brother.
Sure. Greg Mitchell with Hendersonville Lacrosse. A couple of quick updates. Our coaches have gone through the CPR, is it certification or training? CPR something. Okay, training, yeah. Yeah, we sent 5 of our coaches through that. I believe it was 2 weeks ago through Tammy Neal. 6, yes, 6 actually. The club currently is, we've got 80 boys and girls registered this year to play lacrosse, which is, this is the largest number we've had since I've been on board. We are currently undergoing a fundraising campaign in hopes of getting lights installed at Memorial Park. I've had several conversations with Andy, Keith, and Dallas about kind of what it would take for us to do that. And so we have launched last fall what we're calling a Lights for Lax campaign, spearheaded by a few of our parents. We've had tremendous excitement about it, and so our parents are on board. So it's an ongoing thing for us. We've never done anything like this before, so we're kind of finding our way through it as we go. But thus far, it has been well received by our various parents. So last fall, we started our revenue generating with buying new uniforms. It takes about 2 months for us to order brand new uniforms for our 80 kids. Our expenses were really hit hard this spring as we're paying registration dues for both clubs. We're paying referees for all of our games. Our parents are still submitting the registration fees. We're satisfying our balances for the uniforms that we'll be purchasing, equipment that we'll need just to keep the season going smoothly, balls, nets. Referee fees are huge, and so we're gearing up, and we will begin, as in past years, with our season the 1st of March. So I'm here for any questions.
Question?
I hope that there's a successful campaign. I'm vaguely familiar with the Memorial Park property.
Yeah.
And there had been some opposition from the people that live on Cherokee there
Sure.
to having any type of lights that would run past what they would consider a reasonable time, bringing lots of unnecessary noise, traffic into their backyards. Has that been taken? Has that changed? Has that been addressed? Do you have any partnerships with that?
To answer the second part of your question, we do have 2 to 4 corporate sponsorships that have, through our parents, that have agreed to provide some of the money for that. I'm certainly familiar with the issue that you're speaking of. I think that the term that was used before was they wanted to keep the park as a passive use park facility. I believe that issue has been rectified. I believe maybe Andy could address that.
Let me speak to that. One of the main issues was the lights bleeding over, obviously. That's been significantly addressed with new LED lights. So if we're able to use what we've been putting in all the new fields, that will not be a problem. Because you can really be from here to Mr. Mitchell, and it's a total difference between night and day, obviously. As far as the noise part, that's something we would not probably be able to, at Drake's Creek, we play till 1 in the morning sometimes. That's something we can't do over there. The other hurdle, the 2 other hurdles would be we have to make sure that the Corps of Engineers is on board with it, which I feel like they would be. We're not displacing dirt. I mean, we're not building up or sinking down anything. And then obviously it'd have to go into the city budget because what we've told them is this is the way that other groups the last couple of years have helped encourage the city leaders to put lights. If we have a commitment from them, it's a lot easier for me to go get money during the budget process. So that's kind of where we are on that. Hope that answers the questions.
I just wanted to stay in good graces with the people who live there, and didn't know if somebody's knocked on their door and told them that, hey, this is, we'd like to respect your wishes.
We're not at that point yet,
okay.
but I'm prepared to do that.
I just didn't want somebody to get too far down asking for money if it's not going to be feasible.
Well, the one thing I feel about it too is no matter if it's over there
or wherever, if we don't do it there, we've got to build a lacrosse field at either at Volunteer, or we got to convert a field or something.
I want it to be successful. I just,
Yeah.
I'd been a little too close to that situation
Me too.
several years ago.
Me too.
Well, and to Andy's point about Volunteer Park, we're still having ongoing conversations with the area high schools, with the future coming of the sport being sanctioned by TSSAA. And so that's going to happen. Whether or not Sumner County has lacrosse teams, we're certainly hoping that the county can continue its tradition of having lacrosse. And we've had some very good conversations with some of the high schools here, and they are gradually coming around to wanting to have the sport. That's still 2 years away. A lot can happen, so yeah, that's kind of where we are.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hendersonville Soccer Club. State your name, please.
My name's Todd Szymanski from Hendersonville Soccer Club. We had another successful season. A couple things I wanted to point out on the financials you received. We had about $30,000 that was reported back in the last, through the June 30th statement, that actually applied to the fall season. So when you see the balance at the end of what our season produced, we need to factor that in. A couple other things. Right now, we got projects where we are redoing the bathrooms at Drake's Creek Park. That started, and I don't know, Dallas, if you got a timeline on that. We got like maybe 2 or 3 more weeks.
Yeah, I believe so. Andy met with the guy, but I think they should be done by that, I don't know, second to last week of February
Yeah.
is I think the timeline. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah, so we're excited about that. Anyone have any questions on the financials?
Questions? Give you a minute to look it over.
That a bathroom renovation project is nowhere listed on here. It's today they told us it's 15 to 20,000 they're putting into the front soccer restroom. So,
And that's just the one at the main concessions there between field 3 and 4.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Tennessee United Soccer Club.
Todd Giles, I'm treasurer with Tennessee United. The one thing I will say about these financials, kind of like everybody else, well, kind of like a couple others did, we get most, or if not all, of our registration payments at the beginning of the year. We're only halfway through it now, so you will see a pretty good net balance right now, but that's a big chunk of it. Does anybody got any questions?
Mr. Giles, what donations 18,205? Do you know what? Can you?
The majority, if not all of it, would be scholarships.
That's what I figured. I wanted everybody to make sure they knew that.
Yes.
Scholarships to kids that can't afford to play, right?
Correct.
That's what I thought.
Give it a couple more minutes to look it over, a couple more moments to look it over.
While y'all are looking there, you know, both these clubs committed 25,000 this past year to help us get lights put up, replaced to LED. We met with in the Connect Committee. We've already talked about capital projects for next year and an amount similar to that from both clubs as well, which I think is good going forward.
Last call for questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Civitan baseball and the rest of it, it's too little to read. State your name, sir.
Rob Winfrey. I'm the treasurer for the Civitan Club of Hendersonville. We run spring baseball, spring flag football, spring softball, middle school baseball, middle school softball, tackle football, fall flag football, fall softball, and now basketball. I think I got everything. Oh, and 4 concession stands. Sorry, Jimmy.
You got good eyes.
Oh, cheerleading. Oh, thank you, Miss Hamblin. I'm sorry, I forget. Obviously, we've grown over the years and have taken over quite a few responsibilities. We do our best to try to give back to the community through these programs. I apologize. I kind of have to look at these as the year financials. It's very difficult for me to break it up into halves because of the way of our financials work. So when I'm looking at this report, I kind of use the yearly report so that I can understand and see if where certain questions might come up. I can tell you on a few of these items. Dallas had mentioned to me that for the concession stand and the fees paid for the city, it didn't match the income, and that was because the second check came just a little bit after January, and these financials were cut on the 12th. I gave Dallas the amount, and with the amount added in, it is correct for the income that we came in. Another couple of things I wanted to mention is on one of the donations that we had last year, it was earmarked for one of the covers that go over one of the fields, one of the bleacher covers. So we had gotten the donation last year before the financials ended. So it was like a $13,000 donation to go to that bleacher cover, but the bleacher covers were paid this year. So the income was in for last year, but the expense was in for this year. So kind of skews the numbers a little bit there. We also had trouble with Coca-Cola in our concession stands. We have been for 2 years trying to get the softball concession stand to them finally get their invoices to us rather than send it to the old address. It's very difficult for me to get all the bills paid when they're not sending us the invoices. So we ended up having about $11,000 that were paid that were really from last year on that softball concession stand because it was invoices that we had never seen, but yet they had, when we finally got everything straightened out, they sent everything to us and we had to pay that amount up. We did quite a bit for the capital improvements this year. I believe the number was around $60,000 worth. That included everything from concession stands to redid the entire softball concession stands, did little things throughout the other concession stands, adding some of the stainless steel to help with the cleanliness of the area. As I mentioned before about the bleacher cover, we also did several, we helped with the ThorGuard system, the lightning detection system. We also did several field improvements to get either new sod or get fertilizer or whatever the parks may need it at the time. I think that is all the things that I had up front. Any questions does anybody have?
Andy, the things that he went over there, do they jive with what y'all have? Dallas, maybe you could answer better to that. Does it seem like that is right. I'm asking kind of a board
You mean
question.
the park improvements?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, sir. They spend around $60,000 directly back to the park.
Okay.
A lot of that is been from our ability to bring in tournaments that have partnered with them.
Okay.
We've already met this year. They're planning on at least 30,000 more this year, as of a couple weeks ago. Just different things that we've talked about. You know, could be a little more, a little less, but that kind of is what we're kind of budgeting for, hopefully. You know, but these folks have done more to help us improve our parks than we could ever do on our own at this point. So,
Thank you. Questions? Mr. Pike?
Really a comment. I wanted to thank you for being a great partner with Parks Board and y'all trying to do everything that we've asked, and hopefully we're doing the same thing on our end too. So the one thing I do want to ask, you may be the wrong person to ask, I just wondered how the basketball program is going now since you've taken over that.
Honestly, I've tried to stay out of it because I don't want to get involved in so many things, but it's been a learning curve. I'd say for the first year. There's definitely things that I believe they want to change for next season, and I know from the financial aspects there was things that they were not aware of as far as officials and things like that. That price was more than what they had thought. So they'll make some it'll be some adjustments made and try to help that situation out more next year.
Mr. Pike, we met with Brian and Chris about some of this stuff earlier. I mean, just within the last week or so, some of the financial stuff. And what you see here, they've still got some expenses in basketball they haven't paid yet.
Yeah.
So they are going to have to, from talking to them, they're going to increase that a little bit next year because, one, the scorekeepers, which needed to go up, the pricing to get quality, and also the gym supervisors, well, that was our responsibility. But the referees, to stay competitive with other leagues, also had to keep up. So they're probably going to maybe break even. They're showing 6,000. I think they're probably going to break even on this year, maybe lose a little. But we've talked to Chris and Brian about financial stuff for next year, and then also some way we're handling some rules and way going about the league itself. So draft, possibly, we've discussed that instead of just assigning the teams, drafting. So, but overall, it's been great. I mean, it's been a good working relationship with Civitan. Chris is doing a great job trying to piece it all together, him and Brian. So we're pleased. We just got to work through a few things just for the newness of it.
I commend them for undertaking it because I knew what it was going to be, being involved with it from a coaching standpoint and from a Parks Board. So I knew you'd have some learning curves, and just all I can say is just keep plugging away.
Mr. White?
There's a couple of things that stand out that I just want to commend you, Rob, on putting all of this together and keeping it all straight, and it makes sense. And what you've said up here tonight, it kind of expanded and covered some of the questions that I would have had. You guys are doing a really good job across several leagues of keeping everything together. And the one thing that stood out that I want to say again, and I'm hearing you guys are probably going to commit somewhere to around $30,000 this coming year to park improvements.
Right.
If you put that number in what you guys did this past year and the year prior, the Civitan Club will have put over $100,000 in the park. And I understand the need for keeping some money in to operate, and that's great, and you guys are doing a great job at that, but I want to thank you and get a number on TV that people realize how much money you guys have put into the park and what a valuable asset that is to us and the staff, and ultimately what it does for the kids, the improvements that it does to enhance what kids experience have out there, and I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
Well, you're not going to be able to get your head through the door.
No. Can I say something just real quick?
Sure,
One of the things that we help sponsor is the Lunch with Santa. That's done by Miss Hamplin. And she's great. Oh, my God. Anytime I start getting the big head, look at what this woman does.
There you go. Well, that's what she's for.
No, I can't. Nobody can compete. Every time I get towards the end of the year, they go, "Oh my God, how much time I've put into this, what all I've done," and then I get to go talk with her, and I'm like, "You idiot, you hadn't done anything." So, I mean, we're here for the community. This is what we want to do, and we're happy to do it.
Because of you guys, it's a whole lot better.
Appreciate that.
Any more questions? Think you're free to go.
Thank you.
Cindy will help you get your head out. All right, we're going to jump back up to,
Mr.
I'm
Chairman?
sorry about jumping so much here.
Mr.
Back
Chairman,
up to
Mr.
Connect Committee.
Mr. Bruce has got a comment here, if you don't mind.
On the, if you don't mind.
I don't mind at all.
Okay. On the financial statements, excuse me, there's a little bit of confusion with the groups about after we made the decision, or the Barks Board made the decision to split it every 6 months, which is fine. But some of them, like the January to June, everybody understood that. And then when we go from July to December, have a 6-month report, and then also have a full year report. Have them report that to the board. There was confusion because they didn't know which one, if they wanted just the last 6 months of the year, or they wanted the whole year. So basically, most of them just did the last 6 months, except Civitan. He did the whole last 6 months and then the complete year. I think that would help the board, looking at numbers, if come January, we did last 6 months and then a full calendar year. If y'all want to vote on that or okay with that.
I don't think that's bad at all.
Yeah.
We need a motion. Let's take a motion.
I believe that was our intent the last time,
It was what?
was to have a full year from everybody in January, a half-year report in July, with the exception of the 2 soccer clubs whose year goes July to June, end of June. I think that was your all's intent, but I think there was a little confusion, so we just wanted to make sure that's clear for next time. This July, we'll get a half year from everybody, and then next January, we'll get a whole year from everybody, except the 2 soccer clubs is a little bit different. If
And that's
that's,
already
I don't
on
even
the
think we need a motion for that. I think that was the
Already on
intent
the record.
when we started this.
Good enough.
All right.
All right, let's go with Connect.
The whole, Mr. Chairman, the one thing,
Sorry,
the
I'm
whole
sorry.
year, the whole year would fall in June for the soccer clubs.
Correct, that's
But
correct.
everything else would fall in January like it always has been.
That's correct,
So that we're looking at apples to apples from year to year.
correct.
Great.
I'm going to be quiet a minute because I jumped the gun there. All right. Let's go up to the Connect Committee report. Sir?
We had, thank you for, Nathan, for stepping in and attending this meeting this past week. It was probably our longest meeting of the year. We had a lot of things on the agenda. I don't think he knew what he was signing up for, but I think Mr. Pike pulled a fast one on him.
I will say thank you, Nathan, for stepping in, so.
Yeah, but we had a lot of things, just with the player development and getting stuff set for the upcoming spring season. I will say from a player development standpoint, the clubs have agreed on a U9 and up program starting in the fall. That registrations they'll go through rec soccer. I think it'll be $30 a player. And then rec soccer will pay Tennessee United coaches fees for that. They are still working on a plan for U5 through U8 player development. And I think the decision was to come back next month. Tennessee United's going to propose 2 or 3 different options of how that would look. And then rec soccer will take that to their board to vote on which program option they like the best. Other than that, that's really what the whole meeting was mostly about. We did talk about some park improvements, a sod program, and the lights again, and just setting our dates for the spring and summer. I don't know if Andy, Keith, or Mr. White want to add anything to that, but.
Any questions? Thank you, Ms. Lund. Okay, now then we'll go into new business. Basketball technical policy, Mr. Gilly.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. You have in your packet kind of a memo, I guess, for lack of a better word. You know, we as a staff, we were having several incidents before Christmas, and we needed to kind of put something in place to get us through to where the Parks Board could really officially weigh in on it. What we started January 2nd was keeping track of every unsportsmanlike technical foul, and we said if somebody reached 4, they would be suspended. 4 individuals. Obviously, if they got 2 in the game, they would be suspended as well. You know, I sent you all an email kind of detailing several of those things, and then there's a memo to me to you all from last week. I think there is, and maybe there's not. I don't know if there is or not.
I got one.
Page 9, that was last week. You know, this is really something for you all to implement officially, or if we want to make it more, less, whatever. We've clearly had several discipline issues during the basketball season. Several of them didn't even involve players, they involved parents. I really truly don't think this is the forum to air all that out. I'm not sure what the answer is long term. I think the policy we've got in could do us through the rest of the year, but I think we need some more guidance going forward. My recommendation probably would be to have a meeting of the athletic committee that we have to get some kind of recommendation back to the Parks Board. I'm happy to answer questions or
I'll interrupt
hash
you
it out if we want to here.
I'll
but-
interrupt you a second there. Even that, I believe anybody on the board should be invited to that meeting as
Correct.
well.
Either invited or send, if you can't be there, send your input in or.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had basically every Monday, we've had to have a meeting in our office between our staff and officials and gym supervisor people and gathering reports. It's been like CSI and something's got to give. And I don't know what the answer is, but.
All right. I suspect that, I think we'll, golly, let's see. I don't know about a motion for what he just came up with until we meet for that. You wanna weigh in on
I
that?
think we need, like Andy said, I think we need to meet, whether it be athletic committee or all of us, in a private meeting, and then come back with a motion where we all can talk kind of off these mics about it and come up with the best plan.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mr. White.
The one question I would have is as we're discussing this, the Parks Department is responsible solely for the high school league. And how would any policy that we set, what would that be as far as mandating something towards Civitan's basketball program? Are we talking about something separate, or are we talking about?
The Civitan has basically adopted the rules that we put in place for the league. So we would have to get their approval to implement that. But as a Parks Board, you can also tell them they're running our league. They're going to go by what we say for discipline policies.
Oh, we actually have an athletic manual that we actually hand out to all the leagues, which it talks about this. That's part of the athletic manual is discipline, and it gives the Parks Department the authority to suspend players. So majority of all suspensions do come through our office already. We've had several situations where we had one today where we sat down and met with Civitan, talked about the situations, and then we'll issue the letters.
Actually, procedure-wise, I think we need to have a motion. Go ahead, Mr. Frank.
I was going to make a motion.
Yeah, okay, go ahead, Mr. Ms. Frank.
I'd like to make a motion for the duration of this season that we support the memo that is there, giving the gym supervisors and the parks director or his appointee the ability to enforce this, and then any new, well, that'd be my motion.
Second. Mr. Head, discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Yeah, I would say the sooner the better as far as the athletic committee goes, because this is, we were talking just a little while ago, this has been a problem that's been going on for 25 years, because I had that in the league I started, and I had to actually call police in on them. So there's just short of somebody out there that's whipping these people. I don't know what we're going to do, but there has to be something that will deter people from doing this. And I'm sure, excluding me, the people on this board are smart enough to come up with something to do that. So
We will, we'll send out some possible meeting times for the athletic committee
that'd be great.
this week and try to get on that as quick as we can. We've talked about everything from having spectator-free games to hiring security. It's my three things. Number one, the kids need to learn how to have fun and play without all this. Number two, the officials need to feel safe when they're in the gym. And number three, we've got to make sure that we're running the leagues that the schools are okay with so that we can keep using the schools. That's my three biggest concerns. Right. So we've got to address these things. Last year we didn't have hardly any problems. 2 or 3 years ago had a lot of problems. This year,
yeah.
But it's been in every sport. This is not something that's germane to basketball. This is every sport, and it's probably every city. So
there has been so much bad happen, not necessarily sports-wise, but in every facet of life that we look around where people just kind of get out of hand, and what it could get worse. And I don't want our park system to be national news. So
correct.
I think we can work that out. Any more questions of that?
I got one.
Yes, sir.
So there's 4 unsportsmanlike situations, and then they're suspended. Is that as I understand it?
The way we've got it now, if you get 4 single unsportsmanlike technicals throughout the year, they would add up to then, kind of like the NBA, then you have to sit out. If you get 2 in a game, you're out, no matter what.
Right.
But what was happening sometimes is a situation would occur where, let's just say a fight might break out, and all of a sudden we find out that throughout the year this person might have had stuff going on that we could have nipped if we'd have known about it. But a single technical wasn't being reported necessarily. So now that we're going to know what everybody's doing. And without the Parks Board actually voting on that policy, we didn't want to really go nuts with it early, so we kind of came to 4. I'm not saying this time next year it won't be 3 or 2.
Is there, I'm asking the question because I don't know the answer to the question, but is there any formal process of putting them back in the league, a hearing or anything like that? Or?
Anytime we suspend somebody, if they want to appeal it, it comes up here to the Parks Board.
But after their 4 after the suspension is up, they just can't, they automatically go back into the league?
Unless we warrant further. Okay. We have the ability to go beyond it.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Gilly. Middle school tournament pricing.
Before you move on.
Go ahead.
It is if you get, and help me if I'm right or wrong back in the athletic manual, but if you get a second suspension, you're done for the year, right?
We sort of modified that a little bit. It goes case by case now, because there had been some situations where someone got ejected and it was a little questionable how severe it should have been. So it's more of a case by case basis now if you get ejected. But chances are if you get ejected twice, you're going to be gone, to be honest with you.
Last call on questions. Thank you again, Mr. Gilly. Middle school tournament pricing, Mr. Gilly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Basically, I sent you all an email that had kind of a memo in it detailing what the issue was. And we just want to be sure as a staff we're treating everybody the same in every sport across the board when it comes to our high schools that use the park for different events. I can read this, or if you all have thoughts on it, we came up with kind of three options that we thought might be equitable to everybody. To be perfectly honest, my personal belief is number 2 is pretty good, but I'm up for anything. I just want everybody to be treated equally.
Questions on that?
I have more of just a statement to go along with what Director Gilly had to say is, number 2, it was the most appealing to me when I first read this because I understand how hard it is for school sports to survive and thrive and get the needed funds. And these fundraisers really do help that. And I don't want to discourage any of that at any time.
What that would do, number 2, would be, in the spring when baseball, softball, soccer, tennis, cross, whatever, when those athletic teams are hosting an event that they're participating in, we would waive the fee. That would be number 2. If they come back in the off season and they have an adult softball tournament to raise money for their program, then they would incur the fee. Or if it's a high school team putting on a middle school tournament as a fundraiser they're not participating in, they would incur the fee. That makes sense. Or we can leave it as it is. I mean, that's.
Love you too, sweetheart.
As it is would be option 1, and us just start actually collecting from every sport because a couple of them have not been paying.
And 2 and 3 are new options.
Well, 1 and 3 kind of are.
Exactly.
1 is the way it's been going. Honestly, we don't have fees for fishing, cross country, and tennis. 3 would be for us to actually collect all the fees we should have been from everybody, and to also add a fee to fishing, cross country, and tennis.
I think I need a motion, but not, go ahead, sir.
I was going to ask, so why, was it just being overlooked, that it wasn't, or
Yeah.
I had a member of the Hendersonville High School community reach out and say that $300 they would really not like to pay it because it would really hurt their what they're trying to do.
Hendersonville High School soccer community?
Yes.
Right. Sure. I mean, but
So I think
on the
number
same
2
time, we've been charging
Yeah.
baseball and softball. 3 different high schools have paid it every year for the last infinity. And it just has been a little, the debate is if you're hosting a tournament and your home field is in our park, is that tournament part of your regular season schedule? Which we don't charge, obviously, on a daily basis for regular season games or for a district tournament or a region tournament. But the question becomes that when you're hosting an actual fundraiser. I mean, that's kind of why I believe if they're, to me, in option 2, when you start putting in there, they're participating in the event, that makes it to where you're part of their regular season schedule.
Well, I think number 2 is definitely the most equitable. These schools are crunched enough on money.
Say that again.
The school sports are hurting for money. I think number 2 is a good option.
Okay. 2 being waive fees for all school-sponsored events that are fundraisers if their team is participating in the event. Charge fees if the school is helping sponsor the fundraiser event but not participating. High school softball hosting middle school tournament. Is that correct, sir? Okay. I have a motion. Do I have a second? No, Mr. Perry, second. Any more discussion? Yes, sir.
Director Gilly's done a fabulous job trying to plan ahead and look forward for park improvements, capital outlay, and so forth. Would a policy like this have a bearing on the revenue moving forward over time? Ms. Wise is getting ready to present 2 entire pages of special events that are charging fees, but with the school and parks reciprocity in the schools using it quite a bit, is there going to be a revenue impact for option 2?
In my opinion, the revenue impact from if you pick option 2 will be approximately $2,000. And when you all a couple years ago made it to where there was an unlimited amount of school-sponsored events, that decreased revenue for the city more than this would ever even come close to doing. You're talking about, in this case, you would be talking about three schools with 3 softball tournaments each, or 2, I'm sorry, so that's 6, maybe around 4,000. When you talk about softball and baseball, if you were waiving that. So no, answer your question, I don't think that would be a big deal, personally.
Ted?
Okay, so this goes to middle schools as well, then? So every middle school?
Well, not necessarily, because middle schools are not the ones that are hosting those tournaments that are in the park. The middle school tournaments that we have in the park are high school teams hosting a middle school tournament as a fundraiser. The middle schools technically are not, middle school baseball and softball at this time is technically not a Sumner County school sport as a club using our facilities. So now, if a middle school comes to us, this Parks Board wants to start their own tournament, I'll leave that up to you guys. How you want to handle that.
So, but for right now, what we're looking at is if a high school team decides they want to host a middle school tournament, that is a fundraiser that they would be responsible for the fees.
Correct.
To us. That's the way I understand it.
Correct.
And that's going to be across all sports.
Correct. So if a high school cross-country team wanted to host a middle school cross-country tournament, and there was a fee associated with that, and they weren't playing in it, they'd have to pay it. If Hendersonville High School Soccer is hosting a JV soccer tournament, that's still part of their high school program, so they wouldn't have a fee for that.
So my question, that leads me to then, do we need to do a little bit of research and set some of these fees for fishing and cross-country and
probably
tennis so that we are fair across every sport?
Probably so.
That there is a fee to either be waived or charged?
Yes, sir. I wholeheartedly agree with that. If we're trying to be equitable. I don't know if you've ever been to Sanders Ferry on a cross-country fundraiser tournament, Dave. It's a pretty big tournament, or meet, I guess would be called.
I agree. It's pretty confusing there the whole way around. So,
I think we could come back next month with the recommendation on that.
For process, I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All in favor say no, which technically what we're doing is tabling this till the next meeting. So it fails for lack of a vote. Now then, we can go forward with that. Is that correct? Because we can't.
Your motion was to go with option 2.
Exactly, but now, does that answer your question, Mr. White?
I was just saying we could bring back information on extra fees next month outside of your motion, but
I think the discussion is we're still going to go with the second option.
Okay.
I think we just need clarification across all sports as to what fees are going to be associated with each sport, and then we're good to go.
Okay.
So maybe that's a modified motion?
Okay.
Or do we just pass it pending the fees established at the next meeting?
Mr. Zedigan, can you modify that, Mr. Zedigan, to or you can get help from Mr. White, I think.
can I help you out?
Sure.
The only motion you need right now is to take option 2. And then just outside of that, you don't even need another motion. You just know that we're going to come back next month with information to help you make a motion to set fees for the other sports.
That makes sense.
Correct.
I got it. Okay. So we'll take another vote now. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay. Number 2 passes. Well, that was hard. I hate number 2. I always hate it when you have trouble with number 2. All right, Ms. Wise, that was just precious, the way you said you know where to find me under contact. So that's
I had to make
good.
tonight fun.
That's very nice. Ms. Wise, Touch a Truck event.
So thank you to Mr. Long for bringing this great idea to light. I think we're going to make it happen this year. Apparently they do this in Gilbertsville and maybe other places around here. But we have, for Touch a Truck, it's an event where we have service vehicles. We're going to have some of our vehicles, equipment, fire, police, they're both on board. Public Works will have some equipment. I think we're going to try to get some other service companies in town to participate. But basically, they'll bring other vehicles, equipment to the park. It's going to be on Drakes Creek Park on Friday, July 24th from 9 to 11. For the community, they can come and kind of talk to the police, the fire, all these companies, learn how their equipment works, kind of get to see it in action, physically touch a truck, hence the name. I don't know if Dallas or Jeremy want to elaborate because they actually are more familiar with this event, but that's kind of what we're planning on doing.
Indeed. Any question? Do we have to ask all the pertinent questions and all the insurance? I'll entertain a motion to Mr. Pike and Mr. Bennett second. Any questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Aha, you got it. All right, TMSAA Middle School Baseball and Softball, Mr. Gilly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ironically, based on what we were just talking about, in the year 2021, the TSSAA plans to establish a middle school state baseball and softball tournament. Currently, they don't have that. Currently, Sumner County doesn't even sanction middle school baseball and softball, so that'll be something they'll have to address separately if they want their teams to be able to participate in this. They do it now in basketball. They now have a state basketball tournament for middle school. It's pretty cool the way they do sectionals and get to the point where they have that. But luckily, Mr. Lamar was at the TSSAA office one day when this topic came up, and he let us know it was coming, and we would like to submit a proposal to host it. All I'm asking for tonight, there's a resolution in your packet that will be going to different committees and through BOMA for us to have the authority to submit a proposal using what will be funds from next year's budget. So I would just like your all's blessing as to this being an event that we all would like to have in our city. It would end up being about 16 teams for for 2 or 3 days, if we were lucky enough to get it. You know, we may get one of them, we may get none of them, we may get both of them. I know we have great facilities and great people and a lot of support from the right people that would help us. So it's probably time that our city hosts something that the TSSAA does like this. Past due, actually. So hopefully we can put together a package that would make it happen.
So you need our blessing in the form of a motion. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, sir. Well, or it can be just for discussion, just to let you know it's coming. I think it would be good for the Board of Mayor and Aldermen to know that the Parks Board have approved our office to do that.
I do too. Okay, Mr. Head? And Mrs. White second. More discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed? You got it.
Thank you.
I hope we get them. Ms. Nunn. Whew, okay, under staff reports, Ms. Hamlin. You've been relegated to the audience. Yeah, but you're the best looking one out there. Oh, with your exception.
No, I doubt that.
You're still the best looking one out there.
Okay, we have, my Raptors basketball has begun. We are 2 weeks into our schedule. We've got new uniforms this year, and we've done some exhibition games as well. I need to talk to you, Mr. Frank, after the meeting. I have 40 registered. The younger ones play at 5:30 on Friday and 9 o'clock on Saturday morning. The older group plays at 6:15 on Friday and 9:45 on Saturdays. Most all of our games are at Station Camp Elementary, and we'd love to invite all of y'all to come out and visit and come see a game. Our season will run until February 15th, which will be our last game in our season-ending party. We are currently discussing in the office and trying to make a decision about our summer programs that are coming up. We are looking at whether or not we are going to continue with the Summer Fantastics program. Once our decision is made, I will make sure that I inform everyone that attended last year what the decision is, and we'll put it out to the public so they'll know what their options are. Raptors baseball will begin registration on February 19th. The cost is $35, so everyone needs to begin making plans to get registered for this. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Hamlin.
Great.
Wonderful job. Recreation Coordinator Wade Evans.
All right.
Mr. Evans, I'm sorry.
I appreciate that. One update, we did not have enough teams to facilitate our indoor volleyball league this year. So in trying to get something going in during this time, we did actually offer a dodgeball league. And we are one team away from being able to run this league. So I see 1, 2, 3, 4. You guys look like a really good team right now.
I'm out.
Oh, okay. But you could be a coach. You could be a coach.
And I'm too old.
Or Civitan. I mean, I know there's a bunch of dads and coaches. So if you're watching, you want to. We're still registrations through the end of the week. We'd love to get one more team for dodgeball. So, besides that, one of the big things we're going to do for 13 to 15-year-old baseball. One of our goals is to hopefully we've added the option of an open where teams can sign up actually as a full team this year, with hopes of running the league through in-house through our park. So that's in the works.
Any questions, Mr. Evans? Thank you, sir. Before I go any farther, the special events list we have, does anybody have any questions on that? I skipped right over that. So. Ms. Wise does such a wonderful job with that. I think it goes without saying. So, all right, that's good. Okay. Special events program, Ms. Wise.
Besides ongoing basketball, there's not much going on right now. However, we did meet, at least for me, we did meet with David Burbrink this morning as a staff to finalize details for this event. It will be kicking off our year full of 100-plus events for 2020. Following that is the Station Camp High School softball, which is going to be the last weekend in February. And then from there, it's all out till the end of November. So it's going to be a busy year.
Any questions? Thank you, Ms. Wise. Assistant Maintenance Supervisor, Mr. Gurnett.
Good evening, everyone. For our maintenance report, the tennis women's and men's locker room addition at tennis is getting very close to being completed. That was a joint project with the Sumner County Schools. We were able to do a lot of that in-house and save some money, and it was good learning for some of the guys in the maintenance staff. They took on some new skills, and they did a great job. They seized the moment, so that was great. When you get a chance, I'd tell everybody to go over and walk through them and take a look at them. Batting cage updates will be completed this week. New nets, added a bunch of new L screens, some things that Andy had taken a look at and wanted to do, and it's really close to being completed. DC2 infield renovations were completed last week. Now they just need some time to cure up and get ready for some softball here coming up in a few weeks. DC4 infield renovations have began, but due to weather, we've had to slow down that process. We'll see what happens. Hopefully we'll get some dry weather and we can get that finished. Crews have been working on several painting projects throughout the parks, some outdoor stuff when the weather allow, also doing some inside work. We put a large crew together about a week and a half ago and went upstairs at the Civitan meeting area and spent about a week up there painting, put some laminate floor down, cleaned all the carpets. That is our largest meeting space in the park, so it's a very highly used space, and it needed some updating. It was really nice. I would also tell you to go take a look at it. If you come through the park, we'll take you up there and show you. We built 2 new information centers in-house. I think if you guys remember, we did last year, built one and put it back at soccer. We built 2 more of those. We've got another one at front soccer now, so there's 2 on front soccer, and we've got one back at back soccer, so those will be nice. I think they just put up the overlays for the 2020 soccer layout. We've got those redone and they're mounted, so take a look at that. It'll be handy for people coming in from out of town that aren't always in our parks that don't know where all of the fields are. Inmate crews have been painting benches at tennis, updating some stuff over there. And we're doing really good on our winter project list for such a small amount of time this year of real true downtime. I feel like we've really knocked a lot out of there, and the guys stepped up in the middle of trying to take some time off in the winter also. So I think that's everything I have. Anybody has any questions?
Like I always ask you, is the vandalism at a minimum?
Well, probably if you'd asked me that 2 weeks ago, I'd have said yes, but we've had some kids four-wheel driving at Saunders Ferry. That's kind of picked up again. We had an issue at back soccer. They put some graffiti on back soccer over the weekend, I believe. Trying to think, seems like we had one other thing, Andy, and I can't remember what it was. Oh, yeah, the skate park. So, yeah, I mean, just we have had a few things here in the last couple of weeks, but HPD's been on top of it with us. We've got such a good working relationship with them, so I feel pretty confident that we'll typically find the people who caused the damage. They do a good job.
Vandals need to know I've got my video camera hooked up, so it's a long wire to my house. Any questions? Thank you, sir. Assistant Director, Mr. Long.
Thank you. Basketball, the high school league finished up last week, and then the adult league, we have about 3 weeks left of that season, and then they'll be done. Lacrosse, they've began practice as weather allows, and their first game of the season will be February 27th. They'll be playing under the lights at the soccer complex for this game. Tennessee United will begin practice February 17th, and then their first games will be February 29th. HSC's practice will begin March 2nd, and their games will begin after spring break. And then flag football will begin at the end of February with their games starting at the end of spring break.
Questions? Thank you, Mr. Long. Assistant Director, Mr. Bruce.
Thank you, Mr. Hesed. The Fast Pitch Middle School League, they're doing sign-ups now. Hope to start those guys or ladies mid-February. The high school leagues, the Beach and Hendersonville softball. Beach has a new coach this year. We met with her and trying to work out the details for her couple of tournaments and regular season and so forth. So Jimmy, I will send you stuff when I get it from her on game schedules and stuff like that. Hendersonville High School baseball, we've got their game schedules, working on those. Civitan baseball, working with Derek on the league stuff for that, just some practice schedules right now. They're still doing sign-ups, still gotta have their draft. Then we'll also do the middle school baseball scheduling with those guys too. Hockey, still gonna have work on the floor before their season starts. Hopefully, I'll probably contact him, Garrett, the guy who did it, works on it, try to meet next week and set up a date before they get started for the regular season. Youth basketball, like I said, it's been a good relationship with Civitan this first year. Still working on a few minor things logistically from them to us, but it's been a good year so far. They've got 3 weeks of regular season left, and then the tournament that lasts, I think, February 22nd, 23rd, that weekend. We did have that one Saturday morning. We had some tornado warnings and weather issues and stuff, so we canceled a half a day, 9 to 1. That's about 30 games. People think, well, you just lost half a day. Well, that's 30 basketball games. So we're in the process of making those up. Hopefully, some teams are doubling up this Saturday, and we'll have all those made up, weather permitting, on Saturday. And I think that's it. Thank you, sir.
Questions? Thank you, Mr. Bruce. Parks Director, Mr. Gilly.
Thank you, sir. You may hear or see coming through the committees and the Board of Mayor and Aldermen this coming month, a proposal, basically a public safety committee asked the fire chief and I and our staff to get together and see what it would take to have the EMTs on the UTV there in the park full-time, not just for special events and on certain soccer events. We gave them a number. You know, if it had to be an overtime fireman every time, it would be around 80,000. Chances are it's probably going to be staffed by people that are on staff most of the time, but we felt like we needed to give the worst case scenario would be. So, you know, I sent an email to the board, and basically it's a fundamental question. Do you want the UTV in there for our own people, or are we more worried about special events, people that aren't in our city? I mean, as I told them, sometimes the park is just as packed on a Wednesday night when it's just people from Hendersonville as it is on Saturday during a tournament. So they'll have to make that decision. You know, it's getting harder and harder to navigate around in the back of Drakes Creek Park. I will just say that. To go along with that will be, as the referee / city administrator walked in here, the budget process will be going on probably next month. If you all have things that are priorities for you all that you'd like to see done as part of projects or things that we might need to be doing, please let me know that, and obviously we'll do the best we can to work things in. You might have ideas that I never thought of. You know, and it'd be best not to put those on TV, because sometimes you put something on TV, you get tied down to doing it. So I do want to let you know too, we're going to be working with the Hendersonville Police Department on a kind of a community video PSA, hopefully over the next month, addressing safety in the parks as far as vehicles, how, you know, things you can do to prevent your car from being broken in or keep yourself safe. We've never really done a video like that. The police haven't, and we haven't. Probably time that we kind of help get the word out on some things like that. But I think the cameras in the park are going to be a big help towards that too. The last thing I want to mention is Ms. Hamlin has been nominated for a Women Impacting the Community Award for 2020 by the Chamber of Commerce. That luncheon is February 20th. If any of you all want to attend, you're welcome to buy a ticket from the Chamber. You're also welcome to kind of send in your thoughts on why she should win that to the Chamber of Commerce. I think they would be glad to accept that. You know, the list is full of a lot of people that do a lot of great things, but there's nobody that's done as much over a longer period of time for our community than Ms. Hamlin. I'm proud of you for being nominated, and I hope you win, and at least I'm going to get a good lunch out of it no matter what that day. But that's all I have. I really appreciate you all for sticking with us tonight. It's a long meeting, and appreciate our staff for what they go through every day. I tell people all the time, nobody could believe everything that's going on right now. You couldn't even make it up if you wanted to. So just thank you.
Questions? We have a distinguished guest, Mr. Lamar here. You know, no words of wisdom or? Oh, shut up. Okay, I got you. All right, round table, Mr. Perry. Nothing. Mr. Pike?
One thing real quick, I just want to extend, as we always do, but it needs to be said probably every time we come up here, appreciation for Andy and his staff, the maintenance staff. And I also want to go ahead and say, I'm proud to be part of this board with a great group of people on this board, and hope I can be here for a long time.
I'm gonna cry.
I hope you do.
No, I won't, though. That's all right. Mr. Bennett?
I can't follow that.
Mr. Frank? Mr. Zedrin? I said it right that time. Mr. White? Mr. Head? Mr. Holt? Adding to what Mr. Pike said, I want to thank this board for your continued prayer for my wife. I tell everybody, I'm going to keep you in a minute, but I tell everybody that my Sunday school class is family, and my orchestra is family, and where I work is family, and I couldn't have a better family than the people sitting up here. And I sure do appreciate y'all thinking about us. So, all right, motion to adjourn. Mr. Pike, Mr. Bennett, all in favor say aye, and we're out of here. All right.
And where's Spring?